Hello folks and welcome. So the back of my head there, I'm using my camera equipment, and it's not the best in the world, but at least my computers are a little bit more horsepower, as one would say. But anyways folks, welcome to Linux for Seniors. I do hope you subscribe. None of my videos are usually under 2 minutes. Some of them can be as long as an hour. I try to explain things a little bit simpler on my new channel. My previous channel had over 400 videos. So I started this project about 3 weeks ago, I think, and I'm up to about 40 plus videos. So welcome folks. And today I'm going to talk about big screen or flat screen TVs as monitors. Something that just wanted to throw out as food for thought. You can also watch my Linux for Seniors on your smart TVs in your living room, as long as you have the YouTube app. Look up Linux for Seniors. I also recommend watching my videos on the largest screen possible for you. But let's talk about large screens. And why do I use these things? You can see this thing over here. So this is 43 inches. It's probably hard to see, but I got a huge Mr. Mickey Mouse cup sitting here with my cold coffee because I've been working on a lot of different things. And more importantly, this is mounted up against the wall, and that has a little channel. You can barely see that white thing right there. That I got at a hardware store like a Home Depot or Lowe's. It's kind of a squarish looking plasticky thing that opens up, and you can put cords in there, close it up, double sticky tape on the back, and I threw that up against the wall. That's to hide the cords, because you need at least one power cord and one HDMI cable for each computer. In my case, I have 3 computers. This is hard to see because my video camera is not the best in the world, and I apologize. And I'm also filming in 1080 instead of 4K, even though that's a 4K monitor, because the file sizes are enormous when I do that. So hopefully you get the gist of this thing and are watching this on either your smart TV or something large. 1 computer, 2 computers, 3 computers. They all have an HDMI cable that run to the back of this monitor / TV to feed that a video signal. I can also use my remote control because I have Netflix here and also Amazon Prime Video, or whatever apps you have installed. A lot of these smart TVs also have wireless interface built into it, so you can download other applications. That is my case. And this monitor actually was about the same cost as a standard computer monitor. And this refresh rates can go pretty high. It's 120 hertz. That's how many times it can refresh per second, if that's, some folks know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I mean, it's irrelevant for most cases. But more importantly, I have a large screen TV. I like large calendars. I'll show that in a minute because I'm going to get this screen off where you can see this distribution better. Again, I'm not hiding it. It's Linux Mint 21.1 Cinnamon. And just some food for thought. So if you're curious about the desk, this is a custom-made desk. I made that about 4 years ago, I think. And this is made out of butcher block, so it's very solid. And I have a plastic sheet on top of it just to keep me from dinging up the paint. And then I built a cabinet that it rests on one side, and the other side has a straight leg going down. That's also butcher block material and solid. So yeah, I can do some heavy leaning on it. And they came in handy. So I just built the desk, and then I threw up a monitor up against the wall. And again, I like large screens. I can put multiple sections of windows in here. I can also, it's not in view, but there is an actual couch behind here that has a single pull-out bed. So if I have a guest over, they can pull that out, grab a hold of this, click the Netflix, and watch TV when I'm not working or doing videos or doing some computer work. But more importantly, you can get these monitors fairly cheap at the market, whatever store you're buying these from. So really all you need is the monitor and a HDMI cable and a fairly modern video card that has an HDMI output. And most of your video cards do nowadays. Some laptops even have outputs, so you can try that on your big screen TV. So if you got an extra HDMI cord and your laptop supports an HDMI port, try that out one of these days. You'll be amazed. Now I'm going to give you some tips also if you're using on your computers, if you're using open source drivers or proprietary drivers, especially for NVIDIA. So continue watching. So I'm going to give you another perspective before I get my face off the screen. Again, this is 43 inches. It's rather large. I like, large monitors and icons because I wear glasses. So anyways, I'm going to put the mic down, get my face off the screen, and let's talk about this distribution. So hold on. I need to situate myself. Making some noise. All right, so let's talk about some things here. You change the wallpaper? Why not? I like a clean desktop. I don't like a lot of icons, and maybe you do or maybe you don't. So let me find something here. Something about mushroom. No. Okay, that's good enough. These, if you're using Linux Mint, if you haven't seen my video on something like this, it's pretty simple. It's a desk light. It's called calendar desk light. It's highly configurable. I think that I got this set at maximum, but let me find out. I'll just look at the configure. Yeah, it's set at maximum, and it's see-through. I can also just make it standard. Anyways, so let's talk about the drivers. So if you decide to do this, are you using open source drivers or closed? Meaning, open source drivers or proprietary drivers is what I meant to say. Apologize. Let me open up Terminal and give you a NeoFetch information. Actually, not. I'm not going to use NeoFetch. I'm going to use inxi. I think it's a lot faster. And more importantly, it gives me more details. If you haven't seen my video on large scroll bars, go check that out. Hit subscribe. So this is LM21.1 Vera. It's Cinnamon Desktop. And so I am going to go to the graphics card section and just point out what I'm using. I'm using an NVIDIA graphics card. It's a 6 gigabyte. It's a GTX 1660 Ti. It's a fairly decent video card. And I am running this in 1920 by 1080 at 120 hertz. Normal monitors run at 60 hertz. This runs at double. Okay? And I got a fairly good deal on this. And you can see that I am using the NVIDIA graphics drivers. So if you're using the open source drivers, believe it or not, they come out with a very decent picture. But if you're doing any kind of gaming, sometimes people install NVIDIA drivers. So what I'm going to do is right-click on my panel bar and go to System Settings. And then I am going to drag this down, my big fat scroll bar, whether you want to grab it or use your computer mouse, it doesn't matter, and talk about this. So my big 43-inch monitor is sometimes called a 72-inch in other distributions. That's irrelevant. Has the capability of doing that resolution mode there. I'm not going to switch because it'll glitch my video out while recording. But if I switch to 3840 by 2160, I can also switch that from 100 to 200%. If you have that capability, give it a try. Normally when you do that, you need to drop your refresh rate down though. So anytime you're changing resolutions on these two guys and you click apply, and if it blacks out for more than 5 or 6 seconds, just allow it to revert to go back to the previous. If you just let it time out in about 20 or 30 seconds, it'll go back to your previous. Okay, so far so good? Confused you? Hopefully not. So at 1920 by 1080, I run at 100%. If I go to 200%, it makes everything humongous. But it does a fairly good job in this mode though. Now, why did I mention the NVIDIA thing? Well, I am going to resize this box slightly and talk about the driver manager for a second. Let me open this thing. And let me just get that one off the screen, and I'm still waiting for it to check because you do need an internet signal for this, but anyways, it found it. So normally this driver comes installed with all your Linux Mint installations. Linux Mint 21.1, for instance, Cinnamon. So you have the open source driver, which is very common. And you know what? This driver does a fairly good job with everything, including some games. But there are some games that you may want to install the NVIDIA driver, and it normally will have a recommended. And you can try these other ones out. I don't think this one works very well on my machine here, the 470. It was one of these two that I didn't like the way they worked. But anyways, I'm using the 525. So I have one proprietary driver in use. So when you switch from here to here by hitting apply, it'll take you maybe 5 minutes or so for it to do its business, and then it'll ask you to reboot. And when you do, and you open up your system, you'll have this box under the administration section. And it's called the NVIDIA settings because it's using the NVIDIA driver. And under the settings is a display configuration that I'm going to talk about if you're using flat screen TVs. It's called underscan. Now, if you've ever used the screen resolution in NVIDIA in this resolution mode here, you may have noticed that it cuts off your icons on some monitors. If that's the case, then you change this number to a positive number. And what it does is I'm exaggerating, but it pulls the screen in. It doesn't underscan. In other words, it pulls the image in on both sides. That's what an underscan does. So at 0, this works in the open source driver, even in high resolution mode, I don't have an issue. It's only the NVIDIA driver I've noticed this on, or at least on my system. And it's only in this mode. For some weird reason, I have to hit plus. And how you do that, you can either drag this thing here. I'm not going to do it because it'll glitch my video out. Or you can just plug in a number, like a 20 or 25, and you'll see it. If your icons are cut off and you put in like a 25, you'll see it pull in. Okay, just wanted to make mention of that. The open source driver and AMD graphics cards, I haven't really seen that problem because the AMD graphics cards don't have an NVIDIA settings. They only use this box. And I really haven't seen that problem on the AMD graphics card. And I have other computers which are not shown in this video that have those graphic cards installed on them. Okay, because sometimes I switch out these consoles. But more importantly, I wanted to make mention of your screen resolution, and also a very important thing is your refresh rates. So if you were to switch this to 3840 by 2160 and you select a refresh rate like that and hit apply, you may see your monitor stay black for a good 20 seconds before it reverts back, because that mode may be incompatible with not only maybe your graphics card and monitor combination. Keep in mind the two have to work in harmony. Okay, so a lot of your flat screen TVs are slightly different, but you can see my selections. 120 Hertz is the refresh rate. That's how many times it refreshes per second. 60 Hertz is very common. But if you also drop it to 23 Hertz, that you also may see a black screen for a while. Just don't panic and don't unplug your machine. Allow it to do its thing, because you need to confirm it by clicking to say, yes, I like it. So don't be clicking while it's doing this when it's black. Allow it to time out. It's normally about 20 or 30 seconds, maybe up to a minute depending on your speed of your computer. But the resolution rate, again, when you are running in 3840 by 2160, if you have that capability, try the 200% and hit OK. You may find that you have a really sharp icons and really sharp picture. Okay. That's pretty much all the tips I have for you on big flat screen TVs. And again, if you like big scroll bars, go hit subscribe and check my video out. So on that note, folks, stay tuned for more videos on Linux Mint coming down the pike. Thank you for watching.